Good morning, everybody. It's 8:30. We'll call this morning's meeting of the Clay County Board of Commissioners to order for Tuesday, February 25th. Our first item is the approval of the agenda.
Second the motion.
So move.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Citizens to be heard. I see no citizens in the audience. Do we have any online?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Move on. Approval of payment of bills and vouchers.
Move to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Krabnoff, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried, and next we have the approval of minutes from February 25th, along with the work group session minutes from February 4th, excuse me.
Move for approval of both.
Thank you.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Ebinger and second by Commissioner Bear to approve both sets of minutes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right, next we will move into our 8:35 item, and that's the request approval to hire for open positions in public health and withdrawal management detox facility. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. These positions for public health and withdrawal management, the two nurse positions were in when we were gradually filling positions in preparation for the new facility, so we could be staffed for double the capacity. They're positions that one is for a full-time LPN, and our staffing level for LPNs, I don't think you had it in your information sheet because it's not on mine, but the staffing is for 13 full-time LPNs. So I think I missed the 13 there. And staffing for the RNs, we have 4 full-time and 4 variable hours. So we're not doing as well with recruitment of RNs. It's still a difficult challenge to recruit RNs. So we would like approval to hire, and these are budgeted. So they've been in my 2025 request as well as budgeted. So the one full-time LPN position and for 2 full-time RN positions. If I also requested, if we're not able to recruit the RNs after a significant amount of time, if we could fill an open RN position with an LPN. It would still be helpful to have a nurse. We need to have a nurse on every shift. The RNs oversee the licensed practical nurse practice, so we have an RN supervisor and we have 2 RN leads. So if we're just unable to get an RN, it would be nice. The LPNs are paid, on a different grade, lower grade. So if we aren't able to recruit that RN.
If you did that, if it came to that where you would do that, how would that work with still having the need for an RN?
We could fill, as long as we have an RN, which I think we'll have with our variable hour, our leads, on the shifts, each shift, or available by phone. So if an LPN needs to check with them about a specific withdrawal medication, or if we need to send someone in, we'd still have an RN available by phone. But yeah, ideally, we're hoping to get RNs. We're hoping that's going to be the plan, but we don't want to leave something open for 6 months and when we could have an LPN coverage.
So if you did that, then it would stay that way until maybe through attrition, you would
Correct.
go back and try an RN again.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that's correct. And then we have the one FTE administrative support. Troy and I were planning to share a person. I don't know how workable that'll be, but that was what we budgeted for 25. So one FTE administrative support, spend, 2 or 3 days in each of our areas. I don't really have an administrative support person at this time, so that was also, again, in our request and budgeted.
Any questions?
I'm just curious about the number of people that you have over there presently. I'm just kind of curious on the count, how many people
Oh,
are
shoot.
over there,
Yeah.
roughly.
Sorry, Mr. Chair and Commissioner Krabanoff, I don't have the exact count. We do have 13, we'll have 13 LPNs with the hire.
Yeah.
And then we have a number of detox technicians as well. And I don't know the number of that. And then the RN level is we have 4 full-time and 4 variable hour. So
So are you like half capacity over there right now or for staff?
yes, we're more than half capacity. We're able to, we're serving up to 23 at times. So we have enough capacity because we have variable hour staff as well. So we are still able to meet that capacity level.
Yeah.
So it's been, of course, it fluctuates, but we still are able to have then open the 2 16 beds on each side.
Just out of curiosity, do you have an easier time getting nurses on a variable hour basis versus full-time?
We do.
I figured that.
Absolutely, yes. Yep.
Commissioner Bear?
I have one question. So being fully staffed would have 4 full-time and 4 variables hour for RNs, right? That,
With 2 more RNs, we'd like 6.
so fully staffed would be 6 full-time
Right.
RNs. Okay, that's what I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Mojo?
Thank you. Not necessarily a question in regards to this, but I'm really curious to hear how it's going over there. I'm not sure if this is necessarily the appropriate time, but just wanting to maybe have some sort of an agenda item at some point to talk a little bit about how maybe we've seen efficiencies or expansion of services to the clients based on the new facility. I, for one, have been really curious to know kind of what our daily numbers have been as well.
Sure. Yeah, when Troy gets back from his much-needed time away, I will, we'll make sure we provide an update on that, all of the information, the data, and the work that's going on. Yeah.
All right, so we have we're looking for a motion to approve the open positions for public health and withdrawal management detox facility, including 1 full-time administrative support employee and 1 full-time LPN and 2 full-time RNs.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Bear. And we have a second by Commissioner Krabanoff. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. All right, next we have a presentation on the Cass County Community Land Trust. Cass Clay, yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Commission, for hearing us today. We typically come out once a year or so and just kind of give a little update on our progress. And for those of you that might not be aware of the Cass Clay Community Land Trust, I'll give you a little bit of a background. There is some information within your packets as well for you to review at your leisure, as well as another entity that we're looking to start, or exploring to start, that I will talk about later. But just to give you a little background quick on the land trust, in 2015, there was a workforce study completed that identified 3 major barriers to retaining and attracting a skilled workforce, which included housing, affordable or attainable housing, transportation, and quality affordable childcare. In 2018, FM Area Foundation decided to explore the creation of a land trust, and thus created the Cass Clay Community Land Trust. In 2020, they hired me as their first employee and director. And since then, we have spun off from the FM Area Foundation, and we're a standalone nonprofit that specializes in developing and retaining attainable workforce housing throughout Cass County in North Dakota, Clay County in Minnesota. Specifically, the numbers that you have in your packet are related to Clay County, just so you're aware. And some of the things, I will talk a little bit about both sides of the river, but mainly Clay County here today. We are an entity that utilizes private and public resources, generally a lot of state grants from Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. In fact, over the last 3 or 4 years here, we have actually secured just over $6 million to produce 53 units of affordable or attainable long-term housing. What we do is we invest those dollars into properties to bring down the purchase price, so that way somebody or a household at the 80% area median income within our area here can purchase a home. Give you a little bit of perspective, for a family of 4, the area median income in our area is about $89,400. On the Minnesota side, they would say that it's just about $90,000, so pretty close, but $90,000. In what we do is, so then we invest that money into the house, and then through a shared equity program that we utilize, so through our investment, the families of the household does not have to pay us back, but in return, they are going to give up a portion of their equity that they gain in the house, the appreciated value of the house, to pass along to the next home buyer. So by doing this model, when we invest into a property, those homes go into the land trust and then stay forever affordable for the next generation of home buyers. If we look with that $6 million, so far we have completed 10 projects. We have 7 homeowners right now. 2 are in Dilworth and 5 of them are in Moorhead. But as I look into the 2025 year here, we are going to be starting, or will be closing on 3 more properties here by mid-April. So on the Minnesota side, bringing us up to a total of 10. But then our build plan in our acquisition rehab, which I'll talk a little bit about our activities in a second, we're looking to add another 4 houses, newly constructed. As a matter of fact, we have 2 that are on the market right now. They're 2 6-bedroom homes over in the Johnson Farm area in Moorhead that are really geared for multi-generational living or larger family living. And then we're actually removing 2 blighted properties, one in Dilworth, one in Moorhead, to then put up brand new housing units. As well as we're looking to find current housing that's on the market that we're going to acquire and then rehab and then put it back on the market below the mark or the appraised price. So again, that way a household can afford buying. We do 3 major activities: new construction in greenfield, so brand new lots. We do those. We also do acquisition rehab, so finding existing housing stock. We do believe very firmly in the idea of infill and also restoring our existing housing stock and protecting it. So we do invest in those homes. Typically, they're the ones that sit in the market that we've all seen that no one ever buys. And so because they've got a lot of foundation issues or whatever else. And so we go in and clean them up. If they can be saved, we save them and then turn around and sell them to an income qualified buyer. The last program we have is actually called a Home Buyer Initiated Program, or HIP. What that program is we have a set of money, a pool of money that we utilize to offer home buyers a subsidy or an investment, if you will, into a property to bridge the gap between what they can afford for a house and what they can and what the actual purchase price of the house is. Give you a little bit more perspective, a typical land trust homeowner qualifies for a mortgage between $175,000 and $225,000 to $230,000, depending on the interest rates. When we first started, the investments we were putting into properties were about $50,000. That was also a time when interest rates were at 3%, and so it was a little bit easier. But now our average investment has climbed over the last couple of years to $90,000 per family, typical. Inside your packet, there's on the last page of this one, I believe it's the last page, there's just some Clay County housing stats and kind of where we've been going and what's going on for the last 4 or 5 years. 2001, the average sales price of a house was $280,000. In 2024, the average sales price in Clay County is $314,000, just about $314,000. So obviously a huge difference in pricing, which certainly has priced out a majority of our constituents and people we work with. MetroCog completed a study back in 2023 that stated that less than 50% of our residents within the Cass and Clay counties have the funds available or the ability to actually purchase the average priced house of $274,000. That was the average we went with back in 2023. Again, the average now is $313,000. So more and more people every year are becoming priced out of the housing market and being able to call this place home. In addition to our building activities that I just described with the 4 new construction, as well as the 10 acquisition rehabs, we're also looking to place another 10 or so homeowners within Clay County as part of our home buyer initiated program as well. A couple of those are some of the deals that we're closing here by mid-April. So one other reason why I wanted to come, just kind of give you a brief update of where we're at, what we're doing. But one other thing I wanted to just share with you all is the idea that we're exploring to create a land bank. And what a land bank does is it acquires property through a variety of ways, whether it's purchase or donation, tax forfeiture, whatever, blighted properties. And they turn around, clean up the site, if it's brownfield, any kind of contamination, clean it up, clean up any kind of title issues or any of those types of things, and then safeguards the property for the community benefit down the road. So whatever the community decides that is the benefit for that parcel of land, that's what the land bank would look to sell it to an organization that fulfills that call from the community. It varies a little bit from the land trust because the land trust specifically works, or more typically works, with single-family housing. The land that the land trust acquires is then safeguarded typically for single-family housing development projects down the road or when the community sees fit, where a land bank can be for housing, it could be for commercial, it could be parks, it could be anything, really whatever the community and the community leaders decide they would like to have on that parcel of land. So the idea is for the land bank to hold on to that land, to make sure that we have good, sensible growth as we continue to move forward, as well as being partners with not only the counties, but also with the cities as well. I come here today to really ask for a few things. Believe it or not, financial is obviously one of them, but it's not my main ask today. What I really am looking for is for us to find more ways to partner. We all talk about affordable housing being a major issue within our community. We are one solution that not only is to help today's residents, but next generation residents as well. And for us to collaborate more with Clay County and certainly our city leaders throughout Clay County to identify those properties, blighted properties that we can help take down and rebuild, to help us find those vacant lots that need to be developed, to help find those households that might be struggling and need a little help to get back on track. Those are all things we can do and help, but we want to be part of that solution and be forefront in your mind when we come across those issues throughout Clay County. So that's my first ask, I guess, to really have is, as we think about rural Clay County as well, how can the land trust be of service and help? I forgot to mention, one of our rehabs that we have actually is in Barnesville, so we're moving out. I will admit, for our first 4 or 5 years, we're in an office of 2, recently 3 now. So I was being a little selfish with our time and kind of keeping it close to Moorhead, Dilworth, just because of travel time and things like that. But as we continue to expand, we are getting into the Barnesvilles. We're looking to expand to Hawley and a few other areas as well in Clay County. So that's the first ask.
Can I ask you a question
Yeah.
regarding that? So you mentioned the blighted properties, and you're trying to establish this bank that would maybe kind of foresee or oversee all of that. So part of, if I understand it correctly, part of blighted properties when it comes to, well, I think for us, it's the municipalities are the ones who start that, but when we get involved, if there's tax forfeiture involved, and then part of one of the requirements that we have, if it doesn't go to a regular auction, it has to be for a public purpose. And I'm just wondering, would your bank be considered a public purpose?
Yes, because what we would be putting back on there would be defined by the public of what to put there, the citizens. So I would classify it as, yes, being for public good
Okay.
or public use. Now, if you're specifically talking about a park, if that's what we had to put there, if that's public use, then that's what we'd have to put there. I mean, then we'd have to work with developers or find the developers that would put a park or whatever that public use definition would mean for each property.
Maybe I could have rephrased that. I think it needs to be a public entity.
Public entity, okay, yeah. So land bank can sell property to for-profit, nonprofit, whoever, right? It could be, like I said, again, it really comes back to whatever the community would decide they want to have there, whether that's single-family housing, multifamily housing, park, commercial use, whatever.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
The trick really would be for the land bank to really work with communities, boards, elected officials, to determine what needs to go there, and then help work with those entities to make sure that what they have envisioned for that parcel fits a much larger plan, and we would help to facilitate meeting that plan.
Thank you.
On the bank itself, that's new to me. So have you, the bank concept is new to me. So in your discovery, as you're putting this together, have you already kind of identified potential places?
Yes, and here's a great example of one. I know it's not on the Moorhead side, but a great example would be the Mid-American Steel site in Fargo, right? Where a land bank could purchase that, be gifted, whatever, have it, clean it up, work to get it all cleaned up, clean up all the title issues, and then work with elected officials to determine what goes there next, and then to select who that developer is to build whatever has been determined to go there. So that's a great example. Certainly, there's lots of vacant land, but everybody knows that one's very contaminated, so that's why I use that one as the example.
And then do you have I'm familiar with your, regular residential. So when you're doing that, do you have a direct program you work with Minnesota Housing Finance?
Yes, yep. A majority of our funding on the Minnesota side comes from Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. So not only have we been able to be awarded just over $6 million from them, we also, through our programs, can work with their first-time home buyer programs, down payment assistance programs, and those as well. So there's other
But have
avenues.
they identified you for a certain block of money, or you're just part of the competitive whole in acquiring the funds as a pathway?
Yes, correct. Yes, so Minnesota Housing sees us as a pathway to get more people into housing. What they really like about the land trust model is the idea that it stays forever attainable for low to moderate income households. So their investment continues to grow as the house appreciates.
And the reason the bank is kind of interesting me, and one of the things we talk about in our economic development is just more housing needed, right? And I always think of with what you're doing, private ownership, but yet, is there a way to create more room for multifamily?
There is. If we were to do that, we're into the ownership side. So if we did multifamily, we would see that more as a row home or potential condos. Which is something we have been looking at. We're not 100% ready to do that. As part of another collaboration we're working with Clay County Housing Authority and the city of Moorhead to transition 17 of the Maple Court units from low-income renter or tenant occupied into owner occupied. So that's going to be our first kind of test into that market for an HOA and kind of a condo association. And so we're using that as kind of our springboard to see how we could build more density and still offer some equity and some return on their purchase.
Okay, thank you.
Great. You can continue.
Yeah, Sure, now I forgot where I'm at in my notes. I see
Sorry
how
about
this
that.
goes. I see how, really, one other thing that's in your packet is, I had our Realtor pull a list of all the houses that are between zero, technically 55,000, and 275,000. There's 53 homes in all of Clay County that meet that requirement. Of those 53, 20 of them are already pending inspection or pending an actual sale. 2 of them are mobile homes and 2 of them are condos. So when you look at that, 50, I think it's 53 or 58 now, I don't have it right in front of me. Yeah, it's 58. So there's actually 32 homes that are priced, all of Clay County, that are priced within a somewhat of a range for a typical CLT buyer. In a lot of cases, that's still in the higher end. A majority of those are certainly towards that 275,000 compared to the 230,000, which is kind of our number to begin talking with our families. So certainly it's a need, and if you look at the housing stats from 2021 that are included in your packet this is all from the FM Realtors Association, but if you look at those stats from 2021 to 2024, our housing numbers and sales have been kind of dipping. Some of that has to do with interest rates and a few things. It's not just the housing crisis, but that certainly does add to it. And so certainly housing throughout Clay County is kind of teetering a little bit. And again, we're just here to help try to get more people into home ownership at all levels. With that, I'll take any other questions that you might have as well, or any other things you are dying to know about the land trust.
Questions? Steve? Go on. No.
Paul asked the ones I was gonna ask.
Okay.
I would just want to point out Trenton's done a really nice job of continually engaging with the county. I have a close friend who has a child that's a young professional here in Moorhead that otherwise didn't want to pay rent and otherwise wasn't probably in a situation to which they would have been able to buy a house, and they were able to take advantage of this land trust opportunity. The other thing that I would note that very pleased to see is 4 or 5 years ago when Trenton first came on board, as he mentioned earlier, a lot of the work that was being done was on the North Dakota side, and I think this board kind of challenged him a little bit to look on the Minnesota side, and I think that it's one of the things that they've been making a focus on each of our conversations about getting projects done here in Clay County, and so we appreciate that.
Thank you, Steve. A couple things I did forget to mention that I just briefly want to say. When you think of a lot of times when people think of low to moderate income households, they don't always assume workforce housing, or they don't assume people that are in the workforce. We're a step up from Habitat for Humanity and between conventional home ownership. And what I mean by that is our homeowners are teachers, are nurses, they are construction workers, in the military. They're people that are on the front lines doing a lot of the work throughout our community. In order to qualify for our program, you have to be able to get a conventional mortgage. So that really is a defining moment between like a Habitat and us, in the sense that all of our people, Habitats are too, but ours are in the workforce and more in professional jobs and need the help to get into housing. So that's one thing. And then the other thing I want to come back to, if you ever want to go see what $25,000 buys nowadays, let me know. I'd be more than happy to bring you into some of the stuff that we've bought that we know we're going to have to tear down. Commissioner Kavanagh, you probably know this as well, but I've been in a lot of homes that are at $225,000 that you either have to tear it all the way down to the studs and start over, or knock it down, and that's $225,000. For our average professional family, that's a tough market to be in right now, and as those numbers are going to continue to increase, our need and the need for an organization like ours is only going to grow. So if you want to come see that, we have some great blighted properties. If you ever want to come see them, please make sure you're up to date in your tetanus shot. But it's we're doing a lot of different things.
I just have one more question. So you had just mentioned about these applicants needing to be able to obtain a commercial or a
Conventional.
conventional loan. How does that work when part of what you do, you require part of that asset to remain? I guess, how does the bank deal with that? When it seems to me that they wouldn't necessarily be getting the full backing of the property.
Yeah.
Do you follow my question?
Yes, I think I do, and I will try to answer it the best I can. We end up writing what's called a leasehold mortgage, so it's a little bit of a different mortgage. We actually have 5 preferred lenders we work with that are willing to write those mortgages, so that helps with that. In the ground lease that we enter into with all of our homeowners, and then there's some riders and stuff to do with some Fannie and Freddie mortgage riders, but when and if we ever had a homeowner that becomes delinquent or maybe foreclosure, the land trust has the right of first refusal to purchase that home back. And that's typically what we would do if we have the cash available, either that or sell it to another income qualified family as soon as possible. Reason being is we don't want the banks to hang on to it any longer. But if it did get all the way to a foreclosure, we're part of that process as well. So, in making sure that the bank gets made whole as well.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. Just maybe more of an informational item for me. Do the residents of the home pay the taxes, or does the land trust pay the taxes?
Residents of the home pay the
Okay, so a couple years ago, we dealt with maybe a clerical issue where a couple of the properties had shown up in the publication at the end of the year because we were property tax delinquent. Is there a mechanism in which the land trust is notified prior to that sort of publication, or how do we mitigate that?
Yes, actually, those properties were held by us at that time when they were being delinquent, and that's because we were working through, primarily one of them was a lot that we had on Romkey Park that we were working through a deal that took longer than we expected, and so we're all up to date now, but that was that. Since then, we as a nonprofit, for any land that we have in development is actually property tax free or exempt, I guess. So that has alleviated that issue. In the case where we do have, we are notified when people become delinquent on their taxes, property taxes as well. So then we would start to work with them to figure out a plan to get them back on track and making sure that they don't lose the home. Or if they, job change or something has happened within their family or life event, get out of that home as soon as possible before creates havoc on their credit and those things.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
so that's one other thing to note. Minnesota, state of Minnesota has passed a property tax change for land trusts. So all land trust homeowners are actually taxed underneath the 4D property tax rate, which is at 0.75%. I know it's a little bit lower now for multifamily, but for land trusts, they're property taxed at 0.75, which certainly helps them to get into home ownership and maintain it.
Thank you.
So for families, were you done? For families that might want to know more information or reach out to you, how do people contact you, and do you collaborate like with the Clay County HRA?
Yeah, we collaborate with as many people as possible. We truly believe, community is part of our name, and we truly believe that in order for us to make an impact within our community, we need everybody at the table to help us do that. So we do partner with Clay County HRA. We also do with CAP LP, Beyond Shelter, Habitats, other organizations as well. Anybody that is serving a group of people that could potentially get into home ownership, we're partnering with, or ideas on how we can expand, we're partnering with. As I mentioned before, we're partnering with Clay County HRA for the as well in the city of Moorhead. So we'll have a few of those homeowners here in the next few months as well, transitioning. And I forgot the first part of the question now.
I think you answered.
Oh, how they contact us. The best part of it, I forgot. You can find us online, certainly at castclayclt.org. You can always give us a phone call at 701-540-8028. That information should be in your packet as well, but you can always email us as well. But you can email us at hello@castclayclt.org, as well. Typically, we find our homeowners through those partner avenues, or our buyers through those partner avenues, as well as we list all of our houses through the MLS, so we find a lot of people that way as well.
Very good. Anything else? Thank
Well,
you.
just thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
I think for the real estate industry and for building our community.
Thank you.
Great.
Let us know how we can be part of the solution.
Thanks for the update. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come in here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hi. Should I sit?
Yes, you certainly can. Have
Please.
have a seat. We have with us Fauzia Adi this morning, and is going to give us an update on the Moorhead Cultural Mall.
Siham Ahmedi as well.
Yeah, and CM, yes. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us, me and Siham Ahmedi. We are doing a lot of groundwork and very excited to report back to you and kind of tell you our journey and where we are with the cultural mall and see where we can partner and get the county's assistance. I will start with kind of giving you a background of this work we started 2 years ago. And we first, looked at our community. We have done a study of a Moorhead community and surrounding area, if this project is viable or if the community need it. We have done a lot of interview, met with a lot of different leaders, and the result was it was received well, and the community wanted to see this project to come in downtown. So what we also have done is collaborated with the Yumcom Center to kind of showcase the entrepreneurs who will be interested in the cultural mall. So we do something that's called cultural pop-ups every month, where everybody comes together from different culture, the new Americans, the indigenous community. We have 3 different organizations who are collaborating, Immigrant Development Center, Indigenous Association, and Moorhead, Inclusive Moorhead. So those 3 organizations have decided to come together to showcase and kind of, test the water, see if these entrepreneurs are interested. So we opened up to the community, and it was well received. And we have done 3 pop-ups this far, and we would like to welcome you to our next pop-up. It's March 11. If you have time, from 5 to 7, please come support our entrepreneurs. Moorhead is growing.
Fauzia, where is that located?
It's in Yumcom Center.
March 11th from what?
From 5 to 7.
Thank you.
So you will see a lot of entrepreneurs who are Moorheadians, people who do handcraft, different, we had bakeries, we had so many good stuff you will enjoy. Please take the time to come. Moorhead is growing. It's the fastest growing community outside Twin City Metro, with 56 languages spoken in our schools, and more than 10% households speak language other than English. Our community culture, our culture is very rich, is one of our greatest assets. However, we currently lack dedicated spaces to celebrate, share, preserve, and diverse culture and traditional that makes Moorhead unique. The cultural mall will fill this critical gap by creating a vibrant hub for cultural exchange, traditional art, and heritage preservation. This space will feature local artists, cultural performance, cooking demonstration, and education programs, share our community diverse and traditional for a future generation. So we are going to give a chance to our community, but also the next generation to celebrate and see their older people who came to this community, we are still keeping. So what you will see within the cultural mall, it's bakeries, food from different areas, and we are working with those entrepreneurs, and we also applied a grant through deed that collaborates with M-State and also Prairie, Cap LP and M-State to train entrepreneurs. So we have secured a grant that will train and make them ready with their certificate. So we have done a lot of groundwork. We are many and mighty organization. We are underfunded, but we are very hopeful and very, on time and trying to push, making sure our community have a chance in our area. We have built a lot of relationship. Siham will approach you. She is our organizer on the ground to meet everybody, and we are making sure our voice comes to you. So thank you for having us this morning. I sent some materials to show you, the draft of the architectural draft, and also the cost of the project is $7 million. The good stuff we have done is we secured bulk of that money, almost $3 million. The money to buy the building, the square, American Square building, we secured that money, and we are raising other money, working with OCS, which is Department of Health and Human Services, federal. But we also don't know with all the hoops that we are jumping through, that if this year we will submit an application, we will wait to hear from them. So that we will work with the county to get a support because it's a health and human service funding that will come from Washington, D.C., and that application opens up in June. So I will be informing and be in contact to let you know, to give us a support to be able to apply for that kind of. And then we also introduced a bill through the state, SF 907, that's $4 million. That will complete our budget. So partners of Greater Good, they are based in Washington, D.C., gave us a loan to buy the building. And then now we are going to look other funding through Department of Health and Human Service. That will bring it to us to $3 million. Now we are seeking $4 million through the state. And so we have done a great work. Siham was with me, the mayor was with us, the chamber was with us. We had community support. We presented all the letters of support from all the entities that are in Moorhead, businesses, nonprofits, government. Yeah.
Thank you to the administrator
For the letter of support. Thank you so much from the county support. Also, we presented, they said we were the first group who had so much support. So we are praying and working so hard. In the House side, we are having hiccups, but we are working so hard to get in there. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, I know, I think it was a couple of years ago that Commissioner Mojo and I had the opportunity to first sit down with you in the mayor's office in Moorhead regarding this, and a very, very interesting and exciting opportunity. I know the cities has similar things that are very successful. Winnipeg is just an amazing area for cultural activities like this. One of the things that and I know Commissioner Mosher will probably want to come too, but the outline that you have here, when you have small businesses that go in and they're going to go in there and maybe be able to showcase their what they like to do. Maybe it's, I almost look at this as an incubator type of a deal where people can go in there and get a start there, get name recognition and knowledge of their product, and maybe then be able to move out and expand their business into the community. Is that a pretty accurate?
Absolutely. It's a place to grow entrepreneurs, to, give them knowledge, space to start, affordable. If we do what we are doing right now and raise this money, we will be able to rent the space in affordable cost rather than the regular cost in the other area. And then we will have cap 3 years or 4 years for you to be in there. After that, you have to present to the board to tell them that why you should stay.
Or by then, maybe they have the ability to move
move.
out
Yes.
onto their own.
Yes.
Great.
So it will be a very great asset for our downtown. It will make our downtown a vibrant place, a place you want to go, smelling good food and a lot of stuff. We are working so hard. And that building, it will look so good. We will pick up the building itself. We will have mezzanine up. We will create a wedding places. I am working with Kevin day in, day out to show him my vision. So we will get there. For now, we only secure the building. We don't have the money to do the renovation, but we are working so hard.
All right. Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you. Maybe just a follow-up to the work that you're doing at the Capitol. Thanks for, all of us had to pivot a little bit after the last session, and I know that before there was a different building, and I think you've pivoted, and I'm really excited about the proposal before us. The Immigrant Development Center is seeking legacy funds. I know that before we were all kind of maybe seeking capital investment, was able to listen in on the hearing last week. Senator Kupek and the others that testified did a really great job of advocating for that component. And I also would say, as people who need to continually seek creative ways to fund the projects that we want, you've done a really great job of finding outside partners to help reduce the amount from the state that you're asking. So continue to have support from me in this. I think it's a great opportunity to not only show how diverse our citizens are, but also be an incubator for emerging businesses. I just really think this is a really great proposal that, I know in conversations with you, Fauzia, no one is more passionate than you, but really excited to have this in Moorhead. I think it's wonderful.
Commissioner Bear.
So you secured the building, correct? So you bought,
Yes.
all right. And then is it just food going to be sold in this, or is it all goods and wares?
It will be foods, gift shops, handmade stuff. So you will have an idea if you come the pop-ups, you will have an idea of what businesses will be there. Handmade jewelries, a teller, a small gift shop that, caters to minority community, or, it's unique to the other community for fun of it to buy one piece and, and then it will be food, and then it will be music, and, we will have, some community members singing. And that's what we did last pop-up. We had an artist come, and this pop-up, we are planning to have another artist come. So we are just planning to have real fun and very vibrant place.
Are you confident that the parking would be sufficient?
I was talking to Kevin. He said the parkings. He said, the real road has extra parkings, so we need to start negotiation or talking to them, or maybe leasing the parking from them. We are not there yet, so when we get there, we will work with them.
Yeah, I just, compared to where your previous consideration was, it seems to me there was considerably more parking there, and I just want to make sure that the draw that I potentially see from this can be significant. And I don't know that everybody who would be coming there will be riding public transportation to get there. And
You know, the bus comes to the downtown area, and so with the New Americans, they also, they ride together. 2, 3 people will come together. That will save us parking lot. But we will work with our neighbors, with the railroad to kind of secure more parkings.
Fauzia, if you can work with the railroad, you are far more powerful than I thought. But I agree. I think it's part of the emerging designs, and I think there's some more parking that will be designed into the other components of the downtown development too. I just want to find a place that I can get some baklava. Like, that's all I want.
The
got a
global
source.
market
Yes.
has
I've
it,
got a
yeah.
source for that.
It was source.
Yes, I do. Commissioner Krabanoff.
Yeah, just congratulations on getting the place. I have a question on your pop-ups. Are you doing that monthly, and is it always a same date of the month?
They are monthly as of now, and they have been the second Tuesday of the month to complement the Historical Society's open museum
Yeah,
on Tuesdays, and that's when the Yum Cum Center is open till 8.
okay,
It's just a good compliment.
okay. Just wanted to
Yeah,
get
and
that
then
out to the
hopefully-
public, so,
Yeah, and then hopefully it'll lead into the farmer's market and grow that in Moorhead. That
Okay.
happens on Tuesdays, starting in June.
great. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, hopefully you'll keep us updated on the progress.
Yes, I'm thankful you guys wanted to hear from me.
Yeah.
I was like, yay, let's go. I would like to spend more time and have coffee with you guys. I apologize for my shortcoming, but soon as everything comes down, I would like to get to know each one of you.
And as you talk about that funding application that comes in June, make sure that you are in contact with us, and we can certainly provide new letters of support for that from the county as well, so.
Thank you so much.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Oh.
Highway Department is here.
Yes, good
Gonna
morning.
Give us another $1 million this morning?
No, just finaling some projects out.
Oh, boy, okay. All right. Justin, you have several items for us this morning.
Yeah, so the first item I have is requesting approval of the final contract voucher for 3 bridge replacement projects. SAP 14-598-078, SAP 14-610-034, and SAP 14-637-004. So Hool Excavating LLC was the general contractor on this one. I thought they turned out really well. One of them was on County Road 115, one on CASA 10, and one on CASA 37. So the SAP 14-598-078, the final amount to be approved would be $179,014.00. SAP 14-610-034, final amount to be approved would be $467,095.52. The final one is SAP 14-637-004, final amount $296,551.00. Any questions for me?
All right, we will take these individually for motions, so follow along with MnDOT requirements, I'm sure. So,
I'll make a motion to approve the final contract for SAP's 01458, or 598-078, in the amount of $179,014.
I'll second that motion.
okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Krabnoff, second by Commissioner Mojo. Any further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the contract SAP 014-610-034 in the final amount of $467,095.52.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Opposed,
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve SAP 014-637-004 in the amount of $296,551.
Second.
By Commissioner Bear, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. All right. Next item.
Yes, so the second item I have is requesting approval to advertise for 3 bridge replacement projects tied into one contract. Be SAP 14598-079. This one is on County Road 51, just south of Comstock. That's currently closed because it's heavily restricted and we can't even drive over it with a plow truck. So we're really excited to get that one done. The second one is SAP 14599-105. This one is in Goose Prairie Township. This one's kind of been hanging out there for a little while, so we're excited to get that one done. And then SAP 14599-114 is in Elkton Township, just south of Downer. And I will say I have talked to both townships, and they approved of the projects and their share.
So these are all township bridges.
2 of them.
Oh, 2 of them.
The 598079 is on County Road 51. Right by the Comstock Trap Club.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the advertising of the 3 bridges as proposed.
With it, I don't think it made it in your packet, but I am proposing a letting date of March 25th.
I'll modify my motion to include that date.
I will second that motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Moser, second by Commissioner Bear. Any further discussion?
Just one question. Have you notified the townships lately that you're gonna put those out for bid?
Right after this meeting, I will.
I have a question. Just curious about the time frame.
It would be this summer sometime, so we usually keep our contracts pretty open. And they're box culverts, so they usually take about a week to install once we get them. Usually we center our completion dates around beet harvest, so it doesn't screw anything up there.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So we haven't voted on that, have we?
We haven't voted, we have a motion and a second.
Huh?
We have a motion and a
Yeah,
second.
yeah, that's right, yeah, okay. All right, any further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Kristen? All right.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, all right. Good morning.
Morning.
This should be pay-per-view.
This should be. This should be. Hi.
All right, we have with us this morning our Veteran Service Officer, Kurt Cannon. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Board. VSO 2024. We'll start however we figure this out. We have a little agenda. You can see most of this is Air Force planes because Kim put this together. She's retired Air Force, but I noticed that about 10 o'clock last night. We're gonna introductions, the staff, some county comparisons, some payments that we've done, property tax comparison, and then any questions at the end. Myself, Jennifer, she's been there 15 years now, and the new hire replacing Bonnie is Kim, administrative assistant. October of '24, I believe, was the hire date. Some things we do besides counseling and being an accountant, we obtain military documents, assist in enrolling VA healthcare. Compensation claims is mostly what we do. That's about 80%. That's trying to link an injury called service connecting their injury that they have now to service, meaning it could be three ways. A primary, meaning there's in-service documentation of that injury. A secondary condition means they developed a condition off of the primary that we service connected. Or presumptive. Usually each combat theater of war has presumptives that the VA has conceded. For example, Vietnam vets, diabetes. If they have diabetes and they were boots on ground Vietnam, that was a presumptive. It's already conceded. Home loans, financial assistance, TVA benefits, ultimate honors, burial, widows' pensions, voc rehab, appeals, employee assistance, and then general benefits. We work a lot with these services we provide in-house. We have subject matter experts outside the state, education, North Dakota Job Service for helping vets with jobs. So additional resources at our fingertips to help us basically solve each scenario that the vet brings us, and each one's different throughout the day. So we do a lot. One-stop shop, I call it. If you're a vet in Clay County, we're the people you need to see. If we can't handle it in-house, someone outside a house can handle it. So SSAP, it's a state program. They do special needs grants. Now they're called Veteran Relief Grants. That's a once-in-a-lifetime grant that helps folks kind of income-based, low income. Those are, for example, I put an air conditioner and a furnace in a vet's house. I've done a flooring last year. We've done windows. They don't have the extra money to do these house projects. We've done vehicles. We put a lot of effort and time. It's state money. We like to use state grants before we try to explore our own money. So,
Can I just really quickly, just for the public listening, it's really great to hear what we're doing to help vets, but I think it's important to hear what he said is, I put a floor in, we did this. These are our local office staff doing the work to help the veterans. So I just, when we go to places and hear about how you meet people where they are, that is the testimony to that continued service that you yourself also serve the country. So I really appreciate that.
And we take pride in that. Our main goal is service. We're a service industry, and they present the problem, we solve the problem. We are problem solvers, and we put it on us that we've done it. We did this, we did that. So, our staff, we work hard, tireless throughout the day. So. Dental grants, subsistence, optical grants, so they have grants available. This is just a little comparison of how much Clay County works. The state has us at 3548 veterans in Clay County. I don't know where they get the number. I'm just going off their annual report. I swear we're about 10,000. But that's what they have. That's what I'm going to report. Our SSAP dollars for 24 was $74,890. In comparison, Anoka, 6 times more people, 6 times more veterans in their county, and they did $57,000. So, and then Dakota, to make it realistic, they're 7 times more than us, and they beat us by 13,000. So. Little old Clay County at 3548 is matching up with the big dollars in the big cities. So great work by our staff putting in grants, utilizing state funds to get these folks dental, optical, and fix their house. So 2024 retroactive payments, total dollar amount issued to Clay County veterans in 24, $1,810,121.48 compared to $1,111,000 in 23. So we did $700,000 more of work in 24, which is retro and monthly payments. Retro meaning that the claim's been going on so long, we got them 50%, which is for rough numbers, $1,000, that goes back a year, that's $12,000, that's a retro payment. A lot of that includes, I got a guy $147,000, but his went back to 1975, so that's a lot of money. The goal, always my goal, is to get Clay County vets service-connected compensation in efforts that they spend their money, hopefully in Clay County, so in Moorhead. So that's always my intent. Does it happen? No, but it surely helps. They say money doesn't fix everything, and it doesn't, but it sure helps with some of our vets. And not only that, getting them service-connected or getting them health care is huge. Health care is huge to make sure they don't have to buy it privately. Total number of Clay County vets, survivors, spouses receiving monthly payments from the VA is 1,558. So 1,558 vets in Clay County are receiving some sort of compensation from the VA. Here's your property tax. I had it all the way back to 16, but we'll start with 2020. Clay County had 113 disabled veterans on property tax exemption, meaning in the state of Minnesota, property tax exemption starts at 70% service connected. You can go from 0 to 100. 70 is Minnesota. 70 and higher, you get property tax, meaning $150,000 off your market value. Or if you're 100 permanent total, you get $300,000 off your market value. So in 70 and 100, 2020 we had 113. Last year we capped at 200 folks. So and the city of Moorhead in 2020 had 186. They've shot up to 309. So 2020 we had 299 to 509 in 2024 receiving some kind of benefit. So,
Commissioner Mojo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, as we look to how we're increasing that number, is that, can we contribute that to a better awareness? Are we doing a better job of educating folks that that exemption is out there? Or is it, has it been broadened in the legislature to encapsulate more people? How do we?
Yep. In the state of Minnesota, most are aware of their benefits. It has to a lot to do work inside each office.
Okay.
Because if they're at 10, they know they need to be at 70. Not only 70 is property tax, it's a nursing home benefit for cares. Their expenses are paid in a contracted VA home or a civilian that takes VA money. So 70 is a nice number. This has to do a lot back to us following up. It is, you know, I put it on us.
Good.
If they're at 50 and we want them at 70,
Okay.
you know, what else do you have? You make them aware that we always tell vets, if you get something new diagnosed, let us know, because you don't know if it's service connectable. Let us know, can we secondary that off a primary? So we are always thinking to try to maximize their percentage.
Good.
Most veterans just stop, but once we get our hands on them, what else can we do for you?
Well,
Some don't make it to 70.
And I think that's the important part is, I mean, we talk a lot about why having local boots on the ground helping to do the work. And so if it's a tricky application process or if it's just, they just need a little extra help to do that, I think it just speaks to volumes to why it's important to have local folks able to help out with that.
Very true. Minnesota and North Dakota, very fortunate to have one in every county. I hope they never go away with that. Bigger states, we get calls weekly. I call Kim the Mafia now. I'm glad I hired her because if they get to me, I'm going to take them. But we have a lot of other states. And big states, they have to travel to the regional office or their VA to get help. And they just don't do it.
Yep.
So we've serviced many outside of Clay County in 2020, since I've been here. So we do take pride on helping other people at the end of the day. So legislation-wise, back to you, there is a bill in to increase the 150 to 200 and the 300 to 400 because we have not. I don't know the Senate file number on that, but we haven't increased in 12 years.
Okay.
It's a big deal to us. It's also a big deal of the answer. The question is who's going to pay for that? That's always the question at the state level, both finance committees have to go through that to see who's gonna foot that bill, so.
See, Kurt, Commissioner Eber has a question for you.
Yeah, I want to say something to validate what you're talking about, you and your team. I have a family member, and you know who, and lived in one of the biggest areas or one of the most densely populated areas of this state, and did not get a clear-cut assessment of what he was entitled to after being a platoon leader in World War II, and you got it for him. You and your team, and you didn't let up until you got what he deserved and what he had coming. And we're very grateful for that. But you can't live in this town, and you can't knock on doors when you're campaigning without hearing about your people. That's right. And I know other folks that you have been relentless in trying to explore every opportunity for them. And I am really grateful, not just because I had a family member you helped, but because there are people in this community that are very cognizant of the fact that we have a better VSO than you're gonna find just about anywhere else. And they're gonna get the benefits that they've worked so hard to be entitled to. So when you say that, and when we say people from other parts of the state, I've had that experience with you. And you're not stretching the truth a bit. This is where a veteran can come, and if they're entitled to benefits, you and your team are gonna find it for them. And I'm grateful for that.
And a good point, the team. I definitely don't do it by myself. You know, I learn every day. Jennifer mentored me. Still think she does today, so we'll let that go. But we got a great team, second to none, and you're right. Someone comes through the door. If they're a veteran in Clay County, they shouldn't be homeless, and they should have the most benefits that they can get. So, and we try every avenue. Total forms completed. This is off our software, 1854. Those are total forms that we completed and uploaded into the, I don't have a comparison for 23. Supporting documents, 1952. Communication, I do have a comparison from 23. This year we did 3,891 communications, phone, office visits, fax, anything to communicate with people, veterans and outside organizations. 23, we did 3432, so running kind of the same 3,000 mark on contacts. So very good for our office. Any questions? Short and sweet. Main focus always is about the vet, so we
Don't have any questions, but I you know, the people around here know you for your humor. You're our dancing chef at our county picnic.
yes.
On an awful lot of things, but today we got to see the important side of what you do and how serious you take it.
Yeah.
And I've had the opportunity to send a few people to you. And every one of them that I've done that to, they've gotten back to me. And they've said, thank you for sending me to Kurt because he's awesome.
Yeah.
And you really, you know, it kind of goes to what everybody else is saying here, that you really work hard for these veterans and what they are entitled to and deserve.
Right.
So, thank you for that.
You're welcome. Appreciate you sending them to me. And that's a fact, you wouldn't send them to me if I didn't do my job. So I appreciate that. I do have one last thing. I'll leave it with Jackie. It's a documentary in May at the Holmes Theater in Detroit Lakes at 7. So it's a military and veteran documentary. It's my debut movie star. So you guys are all welcome to pick up a flyer. So it's at the historic Holmes Theater. There'll be bring some tissue. I'm sure I'm crying on that thing. Actually, I know I'm crying on that thing because it was in my house, so. But I'll leave them with Jackie, and we sure have that, and welcome. It's open to the public, so.
Well, it's always good to get your updates. Thank you for.
Yes, appreciate, and always continued support. You guys for the last decade have always supported the veterans of Clay County and continue to, so I can't ask for more.
That we will do. Thank you.
All right.
right, we have one more item before we take our break. And it is the request to enter a contract with Sevita to provide semi-independent living skills. Good morning, Quinn.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I'm here to request approving a contract with Sevita for semi-independent living skills. I'd like to provide a little bit of context first. Semi-independent living skills are community-based support services for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities who require assistance to live independently, but do not require a higher level of care. The goal of SILS is to support individuals in achieving greater independence, self-sufficiency, and social inclusion, while reducing reliance on institutional or more restrictive settings. SILS promotes skill development and community integration so individuals can live successfully in their own homes or other community-based settings. To qualify for SILS, they have to meet all of the following criteria: be over 18, have a developmental disability or condition defined by law and statute, require support to function independently in the community, not be at risk of placement in an intermediate care facility, not be using home and community-based service waiver programs, not be residing permanently in an institution, an ICF, or a nursing facility. SILS providers assist with individuals with various aspects of daily life, such as skills development like money management, meal preparation, grocery shopping, social and community integration, such as developing relationships, social skills using public transportation, independent living support like obtaining and maintaining housing, self-administering medications, employment assistance and job coaching and skills training, as well as decision-making and advocacy in helping the individuals make informed decisions about their own daily life. Currently, we have 6 contracted providers that perform SILS. That's Access, Blue Sky, Connections, CCRI, LSS, and Productive Alternatives. We're looking to add Sevita. It would provide clients another choice in providers and reduce waitlist times for citizen accessing SILS with the other agency due to their limited staff capacity. I have included a draft contract for your review. I would look at getting signatures, if approved, right after board today. SILS is a county-administered support service, which is funded through a state allocation. It's an 85% state-funded, 15% county match. Our total allocation for the 2025 budget is $260,233. The 85% of that is $221,198, and our budgeted 15% county share at $39,035. In looking at the previous year's budgets, we have not always captured the maximum amount of state allocated funds. I believe that adding Sevita as a contracted provider would help maximize the available revenue for this program. Our 15% share has already been incorporated into the 2025 budget, so I do not anticipate any financial impact by adding another contracted provider. I guess with that, I would yield for any questions.
So the amount of this whole program, it's got a ceiling on it.
Correct.
And then you kind of divide that up based on these different entities.
Correct, yep.
Yes, Commissioner Bear.
What is the wait time?
I'd have to have Holly here to tell you specifically what it is. I asked that question as well of just concerns about the ability to provide it. All of our contracted providers have staff. It's just, there's a lot of turnover with the staff. So when somebody comes in, the training period, there ends up being a little bit of a wait time. So again, hopes that Sevita would help and assist minimize that wait time.
All right, anything else? Anybody else?
I think it's great to be able to include one more provider to fill that gap, for sure. So with that, I'm moving to make a motion to approve a contract with Sevita to provide semi-independent living skills.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Krabenoff, second by Commissioner Ebinger. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Quinn.
Can we really Really quickly, I know this isn't on the agenda, but last week I was asked to go to St. Paul to be part of a press conference and then subsequent conversations and testimony to talk a little bit about the cost shifts for your department in regards to 3 areas, waivered services, the Minnesota Sex Offender Program, and some mental health cost shifts. There's a lot of analysis, if you will, as to what exactly it would cost counties if this were to completely go through. So really appreciate Quinn and his staff for getting numbers together as quickly as possible on our awareness, I guess. It's looking like it will be approximately $3.2 million that are shifted to counties of mandated expenses from the governor's budget. That is about a 6.95% increase to what our levy would be if it would have gone through this year. As we all head down to St. Paul today, I think it's imperative that we continue to raise awareness to what that shift exactly does. These are vital residents that are getting these services, but really making clear that this is just not a sustainable way to do good government. And so any information that your staff can continue to pull out of that to get to Steve and us would be really, really helpful. I know that CCRI had a hearing meeting with Representative Keeler and 2 Representative Hicks and Kieran, I think, were also in town. And just as we uncover what these look like, need to be part of a solution and raising that awareness.
Yeah, I want to thank you for providing Commissioner Mojo with that information. Thanks to Commissioner Mojo for being down there and speaking on behalf of all the counties in regards to this. And this goes back a little bit in time, but I remember there was one point in time when a lot of these services, this goes back to when we were really in, I think around after the 2008 in that area, when there was significant economic issues going on, and ultimately passing everything on to the counties through property tax just is not sustainable. And unfortunately, in some of those times, even though they were mandated services, we had to develop waiting lists. And I hope we don't go back to that and don't have to go back to that, but we also need to send a message to who really is accountable for providing those services. And it certainly was never the intent of property tax to pay for those. And when Commissioner Mojo talks about that being shifted to the county, that's exactly what's happening. And so we're asking people who are already having difficult times staying in their homes because of high property tax, we're even adding on more. And so I hope we don't get to that, but at some point in time, we might have to start looking at that and point fingers to where they should be pointed. Sure. So, and anyway, that's my little narrative on this. So, Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, just to jump on the boat, this isn't just a Clay County problem, as Commissioner Mojo and the other members of the county's commissions stated in their press conference. This affects the entire state, and it's going to affect the level of care and the quality that we can provide our citizens. And so this isn't cutting the state budget. This is simply shifting it over to where there's not a reliable source of revenue unless we tax people on their property tax. And that word needs to get out and needs to be viewed by the public. And I'm certainly looking forward to the next couple of days where we're going to be able to express it as an organized group with AMC to our state legislators. Hopefully the message will resonate with the governor.
I appreciate that, and thank you. Thank you for your advocacy at the state level, too, to get the word out. I greatly appreciate it.
Very good. All right, we will take a 5-minute break. All right, we are now back in session. Our next agenda item is there's the annual update from our county attorney, Brian Melton. Good morning, Brian.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. Thanks for having me. I have Pam Foss here, my criminal chief, as well as Katie Stock, my civil chief. They're they're here for moral support for me, or if there's more techno questions, I guess, so.
Well, the brains of the operation.
Brains, right. As soon as you actually have any question, I'll turn to them. So, thanks for having me here on the first day of spring. I really appreciate that. So, anyway, with that, regularly an annual update and giving you information. Oftentimes, I'll give you kind of a snapshot of time and how some of our statistics have gone. And even after last year, I looked at doing it a little bit different to try to give you kind of a bigger picture. If you even saw in the Star Tribune recently, they gave kind of a large-scale update of statistics that we're seeing within Minnesota and the bigger cities. And so I wanted to kind of give you a little bit more of that and kind of give you a broader picture and then narrow it down at the end. Anyway, our mission obviously is to promote justice, work on public safety, work in regard to effective government, and make sure that we're prosecuting crime and representing Clay County and the different departments across the county government. And we do that through work with assistant Clay County attorneys. They are front and center for making charging decisions, working to provide services, working with victims, and going to court. So again, my office, myself, we conduct a review of criminal and civil statistics from 2000 through 2024, so kind of a 25-year look back, trying to look at identifiable trends and identifying future areas of expected growth. I think if you really look at it, the issues of mental health, chemical dependency, and just obviously population growth would all seem to lend towards growth in both criminal and civil cases within the county. Our public safety focus, strong prosecution, this board's focus on supporting the prosecutor's office, supporting policing services has been greatly appreciated, but goes to the fact that we have a safe community and a strong community. Obviously, we work across county departments, work with social services, work with the sheriff's department, police department, other non-governmental organizations to reduce crime and hold criminals accountable through the system. So if you just look at the population growth within Clay County over the last 22 years or so, that was the latest statistics that were available. Our growth has been 28.5% from 51,000 plus up to 65,929 people. I think it's important to look at Cass County as well, just because we are a community and a lot of criminal activity or other activities that happen don't know that there's a river there. We're constantly, and we work very much with our partners, the gang strike task force, our other drug task force, all work together with Fargo PD, Cass County Sheriff's Department, and of course Clay County Sheriff's Department, the Moorhead Police Department. But if you look at their growth, very large growth, 55.9% over that time period, up to 192,734. As comparison, the U.S. population growth was about 18.1%, and Minnesota's growth, population growth was 15.9%. So we know that we're doing well. We've heard before, and we talk about we're one of the fastest growing counties outside of the metro, and that is true. But with that is both the good economic growth, but obviously it brings certain things that we constantly have to deal with and be ready for. So when you look at the size of the judiciary within Clay County maintained 3 judges in the county until 2006, that it had a fourth judge. So we have 4 judges within the county. We also have a judicial referee. That individual can take basically cases that are not criminal. So any guardianship, conservatorship, our commitment cases, all types of those kind of things to allow for the other 4 judges to remain in court longer. So again, it just impacts how much time we're in court. Typically, you would maintain 3 to 4 assistant attorneys per each judge. So when you look at that, we're currently at 13 attorneys. If you look at our growth from back in 2000, when I started in 1998, we were a 5-person office. We were low, and we had a lot of overtime, a lot of stress, and we needed to grow with that, which we did, and it's been a good thing. We're close to right-sized right now. We're probably a little bit low, but we'll talk a little bit about growth here in the upcoming future. If you look at just nationally, crime statistics, the FBI have shown that generally speaking, the last 3 years, you've seen a dropping of especially violent crime and some of those higher level crimes, somewhat to that pre-pandemic level. Generally speaking, crime in the county has generally moved up in an upward pattern along with population growth. When you see some of these statistics coming up, you'll see 2018 stands out as one particular. That's when we dropped the city prosecution service contract. They went to their own service. They have 3 or 4 attorneys now doing their own work and tackling the things that they do. And you'll see where some of those things dropped. What you'll really notice is certain items that they do, say misdemeanor DWIs, ours dropped greatly, but other things increased during that time frame, really because it shows we had a backlog that we couldn't get to because we didn't have enough attorneys coming through that city attorney contract. When we shed those jobs and everything else, we were able to tackle some of the other things that we needed to do. 2020 being that first primary COVID year stands out too. You'll see where some items definitely increased, other things dropped. Again, certain things like DWI, where there weren't as many people out at bars, you can see and correlate that those pretty much stood out as an area that dropped. So just jumping into some of the statistics that we have, if you look at, again, our community is a very safe community. Our murder rate is pretty low. We don't have that, say, where you look at some cities that have a lot of high gun crime or random murder crime, that type of thing. We don't. I mean, they're majority known people, relatives. You see that 2020 really stands out. A couple of those, we had a fairly significant, pretty awful murder, but that included several people that helped that person try to get away with the crime. So that was 4 people all in one murder. We had a different murder that had 2 people involved. So although that stands out, at least 6 or 7 kind of involved 2 different cases. 2024, we did see an uptick, and so I don't know if that's more of an anomaly or just, what we're seeing. But generally speaking, across the country, violent crime and murders went down. And you see where we did drop down, but at least 2024 stood out. Our criminal section...
That number 10, that's not say 10 murders, right?
It includes murder, attempted murder, but also aiding and abetting. So, I mean, again, just like that other one, 15, you might have some crimes that had a couple different ones that had people that assisted and aided in those murders. So, correct. Yeah, not all, that's not 10 complete murders. I don't have that exact breakdown, but there's definitely aidings within there. Our criminal sexual assaults, again, you can kind of see that 2018 where you had that jump up, likely from backlogs being worked on. 2020, you saw a big jump in our criminal sexual assaults. Whether that's really attributable to COVID, I'm not sure you can say, but you can see it's to a degree somewhat leveled out, dropped a little bit in the last couple years. Our assault and robbery cases, as you can see, we did have a high watermark there, 2020. We have seen drop in that. I think nationally, a lot of discussion where you see a lot of drop in robberies and thefts, a lot of things such as people not carrying cash as much anymore. So people aren't robbing people because they don't have money on them. Cell phones having more restrictions. Another reason that they say is probably a reason people aren't stealing as much cell phones, and then cars having some security pieces put to them, so some of those cars aren't. And really as far as the robberies go and some of that stuff, that carjacking side of things, we haven't really seen that phenomenon as much in Cass and Clay County, where they saw that in the Twin Cities. A lot of people smashing cars, snatching stuff out, or smashing cars and robbing them with their car. That phenomenon really, at least up to this point, has not hit to us. Our domestic assaults, again, the felony domestic assault that's out there, you can see our increases have kind of gone along. We didn't track that, or it really didn't, the felony domestic, it actually was put in 2001, I believe, but some of those didn't get tracked for a long period of time. Again, you can see Our jump after 2018, again, likely some backlog. But there again, one of the interesting phenomenons, 2020 with COVID, we saw a drop in that felony domestic side of things. And again, as you've seen, we've seen some dropping down the last couple of years or somewhat of leveling out. And then as I mentioned, after 2018, you saw a big drop in the misdemeanor domestic assaults within our office. It didn't mean that we cured it or it stopped. It just means that those are being charged out mostly by City of Moorhead. So you see that volume of cases and kind of a leveling out of where we have just not a lot of misdemeanor domestics out in the county. Our burglary cases, again, a big jump in 2018, somewhat of leveling out and seeing some drop in the last couple of years. I do think there could be a little bit of attribution of some of our case drop. I mean, I know nationally they've talked about it, but we also know that Moorhead has had a big drop in how many police officers they've had on the street. They've been down somewhere around 13 police officers for pretty much all of last year. So I think some of that drop could be attributable to them just not being out as much on the street. They're starting to see some of those numbers and getting some of those people back up. Again, just like I talked with the robberies, our theft forgeries, you can see where they've been climbing along with population growth, some drop over the last couple of years. And then I think you look at like something like crime damage to property. I don't know if you can trend that. I mean, it looks like it's just kind of all over the board. But I would also just say that's kind of you can look at that and say it is what it is, which is kind of typically a crime of passion. I mean, we're a college town. We'll have some times where some college kids, they get drunk and they go right off of campus and destroy 8 cars. And we've got 8 new cases, and then another year we're way down. So I think, again, just that can be that difference of different years and different people maybe having a lot more or a lot less. So I don't know that that's a good one you can trend too much on. But our drug cases, I think, are definitely worth looking at and seeing what we've had. Both we break them out by both City of Moorhead and then the county. I think one of the things that's interesting, we had a law back in 2005 where we put the pseudoephedrine behind the counter at pharmacies. We locked up the anhydrous ammonia. Back in 04, 05, out of all those cases, probably 10 to 15 of those were manufactured cases, people manufacturing methamphetamine in the county. We were seeing that increasing every year. And then after 2005, I don't think we've, since 2005, the last 20 years, had a manufactured case. I can't think of one. And so you look at sometimes certain laws that really do help. It changes it, but I will just say, as you look at that, we don't have manufacture, but we have a lot of, whether it's methamphetamine, other drugs, fentanyl coming up from Mexico. Us being a I-29 and I-94 intersection is a big reason we're, a big piece on the drug trade area, just because there's a lot of transportation that goes. We see a lot of cases that come through Highway Patrol, as well as our own drug folks working on the cases through City of Moorhead and the Sheriff's Department. Again, you saw 2018 have a big jump. I think that, again, is attributable to some of that backlog that we were seeing and having difficulty getting rid of, and then a drop in 2020. And then we've seen kind of that drop over the last couple of years here. And then with the counties, somewhat the same kind of trends. You can see a big jump in 18, kind of just a leveling off in 2020, some drops in the last couple of years there as we have kind of leveled back out to what we saw pre-2018. I just wanted to point out, and I'll talk a little bit later, we are a big proponent of and a supporter, and we do a lot of work with the drug court. I'll talk about that in a minute, but I think one of the main points we like to point out is there's a lot of good work that's done in drug court to get those folks that need treatment and need help and don't need to go to prison, but there's definitely some of those serious folks that we just don't want on the street. So some of our biggest cases, this year alone, we're up from we had like 28 or 29 first-degree aggravated first-degree drug cases. We're up to 37 this year. Some big numbers, 27 pounds of meth seized, over 12,000 grams this year, 6.5 pounds of cocaine. So again, we see methamphetamine, cocaine, but then also fentanyl. And I think I think all of us were at the intergovernmental conference that we just had, and that discussion of xylazine that we're seeing. That's just a higher level drug of fentanyl that doesn't react the same way to the Narcan that's previous. It's actually an elephant tranquilizer, but it's getting mixed into drugs and pretty serious. It'll kill people. I know that Fargo's had 3 overdose deaths in the last month, pretty much attributable to xylazine. So I think we're going to start seeing that more. That's a trend that I expect we'll probably see, coming in the community. So we've seen our first case last year that had that in some of our fentanyl. Our DWI, again, the felony DWI was established 2001, and then 2004, that concentration for alcohol went from a .10 to a 0.8, and you can see where 04, you really saw a jump in some of those felony cases. Again, that's felony gross misdemeanor. Gross misdemeanors are done by the city of Moorhead, so you saw where a big drop after 2018, and then we're kind of leveling off that what we see for, it was basically most of those are really felony DWIs that you're tracking, either 4 in 10 years or that higher alcohol concentration. And then misdemeanor DWIs, same thing, that drop in 2018, a little bit more of a drop in 2020. Our fleeings definitely continue to increase most of the way, again, along population. We see that happening a lot. We did have a big drop in 2023, but back up kind of where we expect that level to be in 2024. And our commitments, you can just see, continue to increase. That's probably one of our biggest areas that continues to increase along with population growth, along with just recognizing, the issues that we have to treat mental illness. Those numbers continue to go up. We had a drop off last year, but I do expect those numbers will probably bounce back and be a higher number next year. Our juvenile delinquency cases, I don't know that this really is attributable to that backlog necessarily. It could be a little bit, but you can see where it really jumped in 18. It's kind of leveled off into that 289 per year amount of cases. We refer about 150 per year to restorative justice, so that's kind of that number I expect will probably level off to a large degree. And then our child in need of protection or service cases, have stayed pretty steady over the last 5 years in that 70 range. So I think kind of my main point to me when I put this together, I think we're a county that's smart with our growth, expect and plan for growth. We don't just react to it. We currently have the 4 judges seated, the 1 judicial referee. I expect that likely we would see an expansion at some point to a 5th judge, maybe over the next 3 to 5 years, and 6 judges within 10 to 15 years. I would say I think that Clay County is set up very well for judicial expansion here within the Clay County Justice Center, with the potential for 2 separate courtrooms to exist within here on the 3rd floor, with really not much else set up or additional cost. So I think we're well set for that. The county attorney's office itself, its physical location, we're well set up for probably a likely 10 years of growth. I know I just took Commissioner Baer through there. We have an area that's, we move some things around within the Justice Center and have the victim services on a different floor, and they have room potentially grow, but we have room for potentially additional attorneys and 2 or 3 additional legal assistants. I expect the attorney's office will likely need 2 additional attorneys over the next 3 to 5 years, 1 in criminal, 1 in civil, and somewhere, in the next 10 to 15 years, probably another 2 beyond that, so 4 attorneys within that time frame. I think probably the biggest thing to bring up and discuss is just maintaining a strong workforce is really of primary importance. Ensuring market level wages are paid, reasonable insurance, and employee-friendly work environment. I would say that, I think we have a good office. We've had people that have even left and come back. I've had people that have left and said, boy, I wish your office was down here in the Twin Cities with us. But we have seen a pretty good amount of folks leaving over the last several years. I currently have 5 attorneys that are 1 year or less of experience. And so the last 2 people I've had leave have left because of wages, because of cost. And so when we look at where Fargo is, or Cass County State's Attorney's Office, or Becker County, our pay is definitely lower than some of those. So that's some of the things that I would expect to look at and talk about in our next upcoming budget. So probably the main thing I'd want to point out from all this. Growth in crime, I expect, will continue, will likely rise alongside growth in population. Drug issues, chemical dependency problems, mental health issues will all continue to rise and be commingled with other crimes that we expect to see. I do think that Clay County is well positioned for continued housing of criminals with the Clay County Detention Center that we put in back in 2018. Serve the citizens well past, I said 25 years, but even well past that. It has the ability to expand even with an additional pod, depending on how things go or what the board sees in the future. Additional growth of that can even occur. Growth in commitments we expect will continue, as well as dealing with other mental health aspects, chemical dependency issues, and require renewed focus. We have positioned ourselves well with the state-of-the-art withdrawal management and detox treatment facility. I think that is going to serve the community extremely well over the next 25 years. I do think that one other area, adult mental health treatment within Clay County, will continue to rise. I think at some point, discussion and need for intensive residential treatment services facility would be needed or be something. And I would just say, back when Ron and I, at one point, Rhonda Porter and I were talking about what was a major need within the county, was that a PRTF or an IRTS facility, and of course the answer was it's both. But if you look at, we had to make where we focus our attention at, and definitely, and you can see where, and I'll bring it up here in just a second, our need for PRTF is without question. But I think the other component, a mental health component at some point later in the future, that IRTS facility will be something that we should be looking at. But the County Attorney's Office, we definitely have a strong focus and emphasis on the specialty courts. The drug court and veterans court continue to serve folks well. I didn't go into too much of the statistics because I know we regularly get an update brief from the court itself, but we definitely have a lot of involvement in that. We have our domestic violence court, which is an accountability court to assist in tracking and working to rehabilitate offenders. And then the new DWI court is just starting. We've just kicked that off, so I don't even have any numbers for that. I don't know if we've even enrolled any particular people, but we have started that process, and definitely appreciate the board's support of that. I think it needs investment and support from the county and from the judicial system. Our growth in juvenile cases, I think, you could see where we've kind of stabilized across the board, through investment, schooling, extracurricular activities, juveniles to gather. I think our male and female CLIPS program is without question one of the best helping hands to help kids that are coming out of the system so they don't have recidivism, that they get on the right platform. So that is a terrific program through Clay County. Use of restorative justice directly in the schools has been a huge help. I think we're just seeing a lot of payoff with having that directly there and getting those kids treated immediately, so we're just not seeing them, with recidivism and then back in the courts. And then juvenile mental health issues will continue to be an issue for the county. The planned investment in a juvenile PRTF is very much warranted and strongly encouraged. So appreciate the board's work on all that as we continue to work to try to get that within the county. And we know just from all of our discussions the importance that is across the entire northwest area, if not across the whole state, to help serve kids with mental health issues. I think our social service issues, increase in SHIPS cases will continue, making social services one of the largest departments and greatest amount of potential growth. Likely we'll see those cases grow within the county attorney's office to have to serve those as new families move into the county. And that's why I think whatever investment improvement we make towards the family service center or the campus, however that develops over the next 5 to 10 years, is obviously important. And just working as a board for Clay County assistance in homelessness, food security, family response, and stabilization will all help in keeping our crime numbers lower. So I appreciate your work there. Our victim services continues to work tirelessly to help serve victims. We have, you know, approximately 1,000 victims per year that we're working with, and over 2,000 to 3,000 contacts with folks each year, and that continues to increase. In 2023, we had 152 cases turned over, and it was approximately that same amount in 2024. I didn't have the exact numbers for that, but I think that's a huge area of growth for the future. And just finally, the area I want to talk about is technology. It obviously plays a very important role. I work with Rory a lot on things, but one of our biggest things that we see now is all of the law enforcement departments that we work with all have body cam now. In the past, there were some that did, some that didn't. They all do now, and that takes up a lot of space. That's a constant IT thing where we're fighting, where we have things stored. We're maxing out on storage. We have to try to delete things and manage things, but I think that's going to be a future issue. I've been working with IT, as well as people in my office, consulting with other county attorney's offices, some of the things they're doing to help manage that amount of stuff for cloud storage and video storage, and that will be a primary concern for the future. We do also utilize Zoom. That's helped kind of stabilize how much space we need, or I think we would have grown quicker and gotten a new judge quicker, but because we're using Zoom to do a certain amount of things, we don't have as much in-person, but we're going back to more in-person stuff, you know, as we go. So I think there's a lot more that we'll see, or that future growth of actual bricks and mortar. So I think just some of the things that we look at for future growth, staying abreast of the law, of changes in the law, training, appreciate our training budget that we have to be able to train new attorneys to keep them current. You know, I think some of the things we'll look at, there's a mental health court that St. Louis County does as a specialty court. That might be something worth exploring and seeing what they do. Stearns, Hennepin, and Ramsey County all have facility service animals currently to help with victim needs and help with court testimony. That's an area that we're exploring and looking at. The trial advocacy program, like, again, just part of the training. There's a trial advocacy. We need to just keep expanding and working on that. Pam has been integral in developing that and that curriculum and training young attorneys. So there's probably some other things too that could be worked on, pre-trial practice, that kind of thing. And then potential expansion of restorative justice programs. I think, as the board knows, we applied for up to $500,000 of RJ grant money. I know Commissioner Ebinger was at a meeting that we had to try to kind of bring in some of the community. We're still waiting to see if some of that is, but I think probably our biggest piece of that would be is if we could have an RJ person dedicated to Moorhead schools and an RJ person dedicated to out county schools, I think would really pay off a lot of benefit. Right now, it's a single person covering everything. So that's some of the work or expansion I hope that we can expect we'll see here in the near future. With that, if you have any questions, that's really the completion of my part. I just want to thank everybody and thank the board for its support regarding public safety.
One of the things that Brian mentioned early in his report was, you know, I don't know if you caught that, he talked about a future judge's chamber on the 3rd floor, and the need for that. And of course, we have a couple of places that might need to have some shifting done. And one of the things that Joe Olson has done, and we've done had some preliminary discussions to our building committee about this actual boardroom someday probably needing to be converted to another judge's chamber. And so there we have started the discussion about where would that go, and we're looking at the potential for an expansion of our government center, where a future board meeting and IT could be. Certainly that's a little time out. We're kind of looking at when our most recent capital improvement bond expires, and then we'll be incorporating some of those projected plans into that. So I think the time frame that he talked about of 3 to 5 years is certainly one that's of significance that we need to be preparing for. I know Commissioner Bear got his first opportunity in the building committee to hear some of these, and there's an awful lot of stuff in the plans that's going to need to be done in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, and we're certainly planning for that from a financial standpoint to keep the tax burden low at the same point in time as providing the needs that we have. And I think the goal of this building for a long time has been to be a complete justice center. And that would include modifying this third floor to meet those needs. So we continue to plan for that through our building committee. We haven't had a lot of chance. We haven't really talked about that part of it with the rest of the board, but I thought today was a good opportunity to throw that out there for the first time to let you know that we are preparing. Commissioner Ebinger.
Yeah, Brian, having seen what we see with law enforcement and the positions there and the salaries going up in order to retain people, and I think all of us received some information from one of your former attorneys about how we're losing the competitive edge on salaries. Has that, you specifically cited Becker County, but are we losing people? And is part of that the salary increases that the public defenders have gotten? Or I know that wasn't factored into the calculation of what our attorneys are paid because it's a different group, but where do we stand on that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Ebinger. I think that when you look at that salary piece, it's happening. I appreciate the work the board has done and the market study that we had previously, but the change in salary for attorneys, you've seen some change within law enforcement. Some of those have been going up and had some increases. That's true too. But what we've seen is both the public defender had a large jump. I mean, some attorneys with that 6 to 8 year amount of time within the public defender space were getting up to a $40,000 pay increase. So it's scaled, within that. But you've seen a lot of different counties that are reacting to that. And yes, not just, say, Cass County that's has a higher amount, or Becker, has reacted. They were having a very difficult time attracting anybody to fill open positions. But throughout the state, you're seeing definitely some increases that are moving. I think the reaction to hold and keep good attorneys, we want to be able to do that. We want to be able to train our folks. And that's kind of one of the unfortunate things. I've seen a lot of folks that we had very good people. We trained them up for that 1 to 2 or maybe 3 years where they're really at that point of knowing their job well, and then they're jumping to another county attorney's spot, closer to the Twin Cities, but across the state, you're seeing it. There is a jump. So I think that we're going to have to definitely take a good look at that, that we can make sure that we stay very competitive. And so that is probably going to be one of my main focuses on this next budget.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Brian. Nope, Steve?
If I could just comment to the board, I think that one of the things that we've talked about is a good working relationship. We have very talented people, Katie and Pam leading the group. But one of the things that I greatly appreciate Brian for is his willingness to collaborate. As elected officials, as an elected official, Brian could choose to do some things and not do things. And what he is an excellent team member in all these parts of many of our committees, whether it's him or his staff are reviewing documents or providing this board ongoing feedback. And just to share, as I have in other areas, that doesn't happen in every county. And so I thank Brian and his team for their great work.
Commissioner Moschel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to piggyback off that as well. I think for the newer members on the board, Brian and his office spent a substantial amount of time in regards to applying for those early grants that we were successful with the withdrawal management component. It is not something that other counties have in regards to that, and it's really helpful to have buy-in from your department. And It just speaks to how we were trying to triage all of the issues that we are seeing in our community to make sure that we're able to meet folks where they're at. And two, in regards to that ERTS facility, if that's the correct abbreviation, a reminder that we did plan for an ability to have a mental health wing component of that withdrawal management facility. Understanding that we're trying to prioritize and figure out how we can build what makes the most sense. But as we have those discussions statewide, to also remind our colleagues that we are trying to mitigate all of those issues and become a regional hub, if you will, as we've seen cost savings as well for hosting something like that in our region.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
All right, next we have a closed session. Brian, do you want to, or Steve, do you want to explain what we're going into closed session for?
Mr. Chair, I would say we're going into closed session to discuss some litigation issues that I'd want to bring to the board and discuss with the board. I think that's all we would need to discuss at this time.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to go into closed session regarding pending litigation per statute 13D.05 subdivision 3B.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Mojo, second by Commissioner Ebner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in closed session. All right, we are now back in session, and our next item is our committee reports. And I'm going to start today with Commissioner Krabenhoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Beginning last Tuesday on the 18th, we had our monthly adult mental health meeting. There was a presentation by Kirsten Lepard from our social services office, and she went through the BCAL, the Becker Clay Otter Tail Wilkin Adult Mental Health Initiative, and it's a two-year, $2 million grant that's brought to BCAL, and she did break down a nice breakdown of the funding of that grant that comes to Clay County. So she did a breakdown of that. Outside of that, we did our agency reports. There were reports from about 6 of the providers that went as part of that meeting to share with the others. Following, excuse me. And on the 19th, I had the Finance Committee for the Historical and Cultural Society. Did a deep dive in that budget again. Things were good for 24, and we're in good shape for starting out 25. Starting to look at our within our reserves, what's set aside for capital, and with that, discussions are starting what our next capital type project might be. On Thursday, the 20th, that morning, there was a meeting of the Suicide Substance Use Prevention Committee Coalition. Anyway, as part of that, I think there were 50-plus members on that. We had a great, really a wonderful presentation from regarding sources of strength, and it was a student presentation out of the Moorhead High School. And there were 6 students there that were presenting. This is a nationwide program that's been going on for decades in help with mental illness, which can lead toward suicide. The kids talked about the 8 protective factors that they work with. And this is the idea of sources of strength is having a like a health teacher start the group, and then it's a peer-supported group where kids in high school may help. In one instance, it was a young man who was 7 years old, so he was in grade school, and just bringing him help and confidence and putting him in the right direction. And I'll just give a stat that was put down here. This program study shows they have data showing has reduced suicides attempts by 29%. So very, very effective. After that, I had an HRA meeting. Revenues are building. The money that we were part of giving HRA to do rehab on the buildings are taking place. And with that, more units have opened up, and they're continuing to get qualified people into the buildings. So the deficits on some of the buildings are coming back nicely, and rehab and repairs continue. Probably the biggest thing, and another part of the discussion, was what federal funding may look like with things going on. And but for now, Doge, I guess I'll just talk about that a little bit. There's been layoffs on the federal level of staff, and so some of the money, this is both HRA and also in housing supports for CAP-LP. There's money it's in the pot that needs to get delivered, and at this point, they haven't received. Both have liquidity to keep things in operation, but at some point, we'll be needing that additional funding to keep our programs going. It did work out coincidentally on March 10th through the 14th. I will be in Washington, D.C. As part of a group going with CAP-LP. Found out that DAR is going to be going, and the National Organization for Housing is going to be at the same time. So on the 10th and 11th, I had planned on joining DARA for housing, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'll be along with CAP-LP group.
Mr. Mojo has a
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Thank you. I think as part of that, I was able to attend Washington DC as part of what he's talking about with that lobbying effort. And I think it's important that we have a motion from this board to approve out-of-state travel for you during that time. So I would offer a motion to approve
we have
that.
a
I will also note that costs and per diem are paid for by CAP-LP.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second for out-of-state travel. Any further discussion?
Thank you, Jenny.
Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. All right, Paul.
All right, thank you. And then to finish up, then CAP-LP was that night, our annual board, our monthly board meeting. The main thing, it was business as usual. There wasn't a lot in depth for approval, just some out-of-state travel requests for some conferences in the area of childcare. We had reassignments to some committee assignments, and yeah, that's all I'll mention on that. Jenny was there, maybe she has something more. And that's my reporting.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Mojo?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last week, I attended a county-owned property meeting. We reissued some space needs and conversations that have been a prior in the past couple months in regards to leading up to that. We're going to maintain a quarterly presence on this committee and then try to have some sort of official documentation to look back on. I attended the February Planning Commission that evening, a variety of hearings, a couple that we did take action and pass, one specifically that will come to the county board for approval. It was a unanimous recommendation. We did have board elections. Joel Hildebrand will be serving as chair, and Councilmember Steichen from Dilworth will be vice chair for the upcoming year. And then we did talk about our ordinance update. The next day, I attended the Legislative Dialogue Press Conference in St. Paul. The related conversations that we have in regards to that shift in the governor's budget is pretty substantial for counties, so I appreciate the invitation from Senator Rasmussen for attending that. Was able to gather 6 other commissioners from all corners of the state, administrators as well. There were several hearings on that we did attend. As we look back at the conversation that we had earlier, these are substantial shifts that will really bankrupt, in essence, several counties. I know that God's country, Traverse County, as we talk about, boy, when you're looking at increasing shifts of cost for over $1,000 per resident, that gets, I mean, I can't even go into how imperative it is that we continue to dialogue, how that looks. Certainly, there's been a lot of feedback that I've had from the community on this. At some point, maybe it looks at eligibility. You know, I know we're mandated in terms of the timelines to see people, like you had talked about. So I just, we have to get creative in figuring out how we stymie what this cost shift would be. I had great conversations with Representative Keeler and Senator Johnson on our other shared initiatives. I had a meeting with MetroCog the next day. Really a long meeting, covered a lot of ground. There's some, the federal new changes are causing a lot of these committees to just restructure a little bit what projects go forward. We did prioritize some of the projects. We followed the recommendation of the Transportation Technical Committees, and we'll work with MnDOT and North Dakota DOT on those. I attended CAP-LP that evening. It was covered well by Commissioner Krabenoff. I had a variety of legislative strategic planning meetings, not only with the chamber, but the flood mitigation strategy meeting with the city of Moorhead, working to make sure that we have documents for DNR completed for the HAZ mitigation funding component, continuing the dialogue that we have statewide for the capital investment requests. Yesterday, I attended the Lakeland Mental Health Center annual meeting. I do have a copy of their financial report for folks. They gave a pretty good 10-year synopsis of where they were 10 years ago, where they are now. Really are continuing to critically meet the needs of our communities. Last year, there was a 7.4% margin of income coming in. And I think it's important to note that not only our counties, but this organization particularly is under, things look good right now, but when you have openings in scheduling, that really changes that. So they're dialing in how to work with appointments and have the least amount of gaps in scheduling as possible while still maintaining a quick access numbers. They are also very concerned on legislations in regards to MA and what is reimbursed in expenses, and we are continuing to track what those cost shifts could be to LMHC, and it could be significant. So if anyone wants to see that, you can. We had the annual board or the regular board of directors meeting after that. We had board elections. Everything will stay the same for next year. Our new county social service director rotation will be the Deb Schustrom from Otter Tail, and did talk a lot about we will likely be discontinuing a lease in Glenwood and purchasing that building, and then did talk about needing to phase out the site visits in Parker's Prairie. But everything in Clay County and the school districts, the service level will continue to be high. And then yesterday I had another meeting in regards to PRTF strategizing last week. I'm really excited to note that we had our juvenile detention non-secure bill was dropped. We do have great support in the House and Senate on that. And then yesterday, our startup grant funds for the PRTF also dropped. So as we go to St. Paul today, we have 3 Senate and House file bills that will add to our new briefing document to continue to advocate for those needs. Sorry. That was my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Barra.
On last Tuesday, I also had the County Old Lands Committee. Jenny already reported on that. I have nothing to add. And then on Wednesday, I met with Kathy McKay and Commissioner Ebbinger on giving me a rundown on the Partner for Health that we met on Friday. So we had Partner for Health on Friday, where we talked about funding. And right now, federal funding covers about 32.5% of the grants, and state funding produces about 67.5%. So if Doge comes in or the federal government stops providing that, there'd be about a third of that wouldn't be covered. And then it looks like Otter Tail and Wilkin are going ahead and leaving that group. That's all I have. Dave is the chair, so if he has anything to add, he can. And then yesterday, I had a West Central Water District meeting where we discussed moving forward with that project. And Norman, last week, we provided the monies to help move that project forward. Norman County also last week at their commission meeting approved buying in with us. So now we're just waiting for Polk, and hopefully they will do it next Tuesday, I believe, is on their agenda.
March 4th.
Yeah. That is all I have for committee assignments.
Thank you. Commissioner Ebinger?
Yeah, on the 19th, met with Commissioner Bear, Kathy McKay, Steve, Lori Johnson, just basically giving him an overview of the state mandated services for public health and the dissolution of the current public health team or partnership. On the 20th, virtually attended the Clay County Suicide and Substance Coalition meeting, which Commissioner Krabenoff has already covered, but I do want to recognize the students from Moorhead that spoke on that. There were some really compelling stories. They've really got a support system started out there that's working out great with the SOS. Sources of strength, yes. And on the 21st, we had the meeting with the Partnership for Health Community Health Board, our quarterly meeting. We covered a lot of the financial updates from Brandon Nelson with Public Health. He did an excellent job of showing us what we're contending with. There is some funding that's got to be spent by June. They're going to have a financial retreat to sit back and plan on how those funds are going to be expended. Had a discussion on statutory authority and responsibilities under Minnesota statute. And we had a statewide health improvement partnership, the SHIP. We had an update on their programs for healthy food and active living. And we did discuss the dissolution of the partnership. The Otter Tail County Attorney has looked at things. We will continue with Becker County. We will hold the partnership under the original joint powers agreement. They're going to have to write one up to meet their needs. We'll probably revise and ask Mr. Melton to give a review on changes to our JPA. And that completes my report.
I don't.
I'm sorry, what?
There was just a question if we had to have board action.
Board action with them leaving the Partnership for Health.
No, they've done it under the agreement. They have filed. We're not doing anything, neither is Becker County. Basically, we continue to remain a Partnership for Health. Otter Tail and Wilkin will have to go through the work with the state and establish their own partnership.
Does that complete?
Yeah, that completes my
All right.
report.
All right, so I have to go back to February 11th for my report, and on February 11th, we had the Diversion Authority Planning Committee meeting. And at that meeting, we had a couple of updates. One was regarding the funding policy update, and then we also got an update on the P3 Technical Dispute Review Board. And as you probably read in the media, that board has decided to dissolve under its current, and so it remains to be seen how disputes will be handled moving forward. And then we did receive an executive director update from Jason Benson, his first update to the planning committee. And the intention there, I think, was he's going to be going over consulting fees and discussions regarding about the potential for what additional consulting will need to be done in the future as this project moves forward. On February 12th, we had the Budget and Finance Committee meeting for the dispatch center. Most of the meeting was in regards to the budget review for 2025, and that all seems to be in order. There was a need for some battery replacements that are critical need. And so there was a request on that, and what we did is we basically authorized Amanda to use a current line item to go ahead and, because it's time sensitive and in the need for those, to use a current line item to buy those batteries. And then at today's meeting, this afternoon's meeting, the full board will review that, and as long as you can stay within that budgeted line item, there probably would not need to be any further action. But in the event that that line item fills up, then it's something that was not budgeted. So it ended up needing to be done. So action will happen on that. Say February 13th, I did attend the Lakes Country Service Cooperative meeting in Fergus Falls, and I think they continue to be looking for a site in Moorhead for additional schooling. I reported on that before. I think they're working quite a bit with Brandon Lunick from the school district in trying to figure out what site would be best for that. And then yesterday I did attend the West Central Regional Water Board meeting that Commissioner Bear reported on. There's still apparently there's an MOU with Marshall Polk County that at some point at this point they have not been able to come to an agreement regarding a boundary issue. So that's more of an issue between Polk County and Marshall Polk. We have in our packet for the first time a bylaw proposal, and I did ask that Stevens and Lucas forward that to you, Steve, one of the things that I want to do is to make sure that our county attorney and Lori review those bylaws. And I think my biggest concern is moving forward what authority they might have in taxing and their ability to have implications on our bonding abilities within Clay County. So, and I might have, as Brian reviews it, maybe if you want to talk with Ezra and I too, we might be able to just share the concerns that we'd have that we're not giving up certain abilities and authorities. And that completes my report. Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Tuesday, participated in the county-owned lands meeting that's been well addressed. That afternoon, I participated in the regional administrator-manager meeting. We talked a great deal about the budget discussions with the governor that we've had today. The 19th, participated in a resource recovery warranty issue discussion. Also participated in the CHB update discussion that Commissioner Everger and Commissioner Bear spoke on. On Thursday and Friday, I was able to participate at the AMC Futures Conference. We heard from Commissioner Tiki Brown from the newly formulated Department of Children's, Youth, and Families. They were set up last year. They spent much of the last year being stood up. They have 600 employees. They're hoping to have 900 by July. Again, they took over some of the roles of DHS. We had a legislative update from Mr. Hilgart in regards to the legislative session. Be more on that this week. At the end of the evening, we received a presentation from Senator Carla Nelson from Rochester, and she's on taxes, capital investment, transportation, and jobs. We heard about the legislative update from her perspective and also her leadership journey. I also was able to give her a PRTF pitch at the end of the evening. Surprisingly, she had already seen our map and some of our documentation, so that was fun. She said she's looking forward to hearing more about that, hopefully, in capital investments. The following day, we heard from Carl Crawford from St. Louis County in regards to equity inclusion and the programs that he's run over the years. On that afternoon, I spoke with several of you on the way home from the Twin Cities. On the 24th, participated in the Water District meeting that's been well covered. Yesterday, also had a department head meeting. We did work, as Commissioner Mojo talked about, we're working on getting the DNR flood mitigation grant application completed. Worked with Eric Dodds on that yesterday and hope to have something completed by the end of this week. Did hand out in regards to our PRTF, I did have Jackie did update our document going from a PRTF with a heading for the non-secure juvenile facility. Also, she was able to coordinate the new drawings of the facility and also the map that we've handed out previously on a single page where with the letters of resolutions of support. And so appreciate her efforts that we'll have access to this week. Just a few other different things. Minnesota DEED has put out a pre-qualification for the federal broadband equity access and deployment. Have heard from Red River Communications already that they're going to be looking to get pre-qualified to address any areas in Clay County that are unserved or underserved in their area. And that concludes my report.
Brian? Okay. Darren?
Most everything has been covered that I have attended as well. The county owned lands committee did sit in on the House Workforce and Labor Committee meeting, which Deed presented about the paid leave. And I think it was yesterday they finally settled on 0.88% as a tax starting in starting in January of 2026. Also had a meeting with MCC, MNCCC on the HR payroll user group. We were talking about the UKG contracts that'll be going forward for the next couple of years, and had a meeting on Friday as well with the Clay County UKG rep that we're for our pro talent implementation. Hopefully, we'll have that done by the end of March, and sat in with Brian and Steve on some of the door issues as well, and Steve and Brian on the county, looking at reviewing some of the county codes. So that's it. Thank you.
Darren, does that 0.88, is that on an entire, is there a ceiling on that, or is it on?
The ceiling is, I can't remember exactly. I think it's like what is it? 1.25%. For 2026, they're starting out, if you remember, it was 0.7 something. And now they're going to 0.88 as the starting point.
Is that 0.88 on an employee's full annual salary?
It is, the county has to pay at least 50% of that tax, so it would be 0.44 for the county. The issue is that the rest of it has to be negotiated with the unions. So they could negotiate that the county pays for all of it, pays for some of it, but in the statute it says that the county has to pay at least 50%. So that would be a 0.44% on the county and 0.44% on the employees, starting in January 1st of 2026. The deed presentation was interesting, to say the least. I think they said they have 60 employees already hired. And one of the legislators asked what the target date or the target number was, and it's 400. So they have 60 of 400 hired so far to run this program. So it's going to be interesting come January 1st when this goes into effect.
Covers everything? All right, we're adjourned.